every chapter in this book, I could actually write a book on every chapter, so I condense it.
Yeah.
But in that chapter, I touch on me being at West Ham and feeling anxious. And it's not a bad thing, because I feel we need a bit of anxiety to keep us on our toes. But I wasn't signed, and I was desperate to get a contract. So I got invited back to full-time training, just left school, and I wanted it so bad. And I look at how Paolo Di Canio and Neil Ruddock, they would literally clown each other. They were like Laurel and Hardy. But it was purely for the entertainment of the young players. And it made us feel so relaxed. And so I noticed how they made me feel. And that my feelings affected my performance on when I trained. Then there was other things whereby Tony Carr, who was the manager, said, Harry Redknapp will walk over to watch now and again, so just to make you guys aware. And I just thought, oh, whatever, obviously this is a Premier League manager, well-established. And Harry Redknapp walks over while we're training. I think I'm giving 100%, but when he's there, I tell you what, I've got something in reserve, because I'm going. So what I loved is these little elements that made the environment at West Ham. Then you had Tony Carr, who's the manager, who's, he's a legend in the game. But for me, he didn't overcomplicate things. And what I love is the freedom he gave for us to play. And then I had the players that were there. Rio Ferdinand would be in the indoor five-a-side playing music, garage music, dancing, screaming, like just absolutely clowning. But then when I got on the pitch, he's an absolute animal. And I loved it, because indirectly what he's teaching me is, you know what, you can have fun with it. You know what, have fun, clown, but you know what, when you're on that pitch, it's work. He never told me that, but I saw that, and that's how it translated to me. I saw Joe Cole, the things he was doing with the ball were inspiring, but before you had these, you've got these machines now, you can buy these, and they like produce holes in the nets, but Joe Cole used to tie up hula hoops to the corners and shoot. Right. So I saw that, and I thought, how inventive, I'm doing that. And I can go through the teams. And then when I went to Charlton, it was different, but I had like people who would mentor me, like Chris Powell, Clive Mendonca will give me classes on like financial literacy, will sit me down in the change room, say, Kev, this is what you need to do, blah, blah, blah. Now, the reason why I touch on that is because I feel that we miss a trick now in football, where there's been this trend. And in football, unfortunately, a lot of people do stuff because other people are doing it. So there's this trend of separating academies and under 23 training grounds from the first team. So that means all of those things I just mentioned, the young players won't get access to that. Yeah. And on top of what I've just mentioned, there's a lot of people who've got careers, great careers, from making it by mistake. A first team manager might realize he's one short, so we'll call a youngster over, or a first team player gets injured, so they call a youngster over. And then afterwards, what happens is the first team manager says, actually, I'm going to keep him here, and the rest is history. But now we've separated training grounds, and I'm thinking, you've got that inspiration, that motivation there for the kids to see. It makes it real. And Kieran Richardson actually says in the book as well, he says that was his motivation at Man United, looking over and seeing the first team. That's where I wanted to be. It makes it real. I saw an interview by Steve McLaren, I read an interview whereby he was talking about his time at FC Twente, and he said one of the players spoke to him about an upcoming fixture whereby they were talking about different strategies to go through to prepare for this game. And McLaren said, yeah, oh, I did. Okay, yeah. So McLaren said, he never ever had that from an English player. Now, yes, that's probably a good point, but then we have to look at the culture of English football. In Holland, it is very much based on the technical aspect. They embrace it, but they also educate their players on the technical aspect and give them a platform to share. When I was coming up in the system, whether it be Sunday League or whether it be professional football, I was never made to feel that I can contribute anything. And to be honest with you, I wasn't taught about the game. I went through so many different types of training every day, but I wasn't really taught why I was doing it. For example, I'll be told there's habits, but I wasn't taught, how to kind of build those habits and how they would play out. Going back to the McLaren example, is that I would, if I was asking him questions and he had told me that, I would have asked him how many times did he give players a platform to do that in England, and how does our culture allow it? I think sometimes in football we've got this mentality of, you've got your potential, you didn't ever achieve your potential, it's your fault. But the player is victim to their environment. So if I was a coach or if I run a club, I have to look at how can I allow, or how can I educate, or how can I encourage players to step forward and give their opinion, because really and truly they have an angle that the coaches will never get access to. If I was running a club, I would ask players, who was the toughest player you played against? who do you think we should sign? I'm saying I would do it, but it will make me now look at the game from a different perspective. It allows them to, I mean, any other business in the world, you're paying thousands upon thousands because these are elite footballers. So any other business, people are paying thousands for that service. Football clubs can house it for free and they choose to separate it. It's beyond me, absolutely beyond me.